Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the mini-series, The Queen's Gambit. Fun fact, this show is based off of a book by the same name that came out in 1983. The show came out in 2020 and stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomas-Brodie Sangster, and Harry Melling. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The Queen's Gambit tells the story of Elizabeth Harmon, a chess prodigy. The show follows her rise from chess novice to chess master. We see all of her ups and downs throughout her life, and the viewer starts to realize that this show is mainly about chess, but it's also about so much more. The show shows that she was good at chess, but it also shows how she learned so much about life. It shows her inner demons dealing with her alcohol addiction and her drug addiction. The show itself is one about growth and perseverance. The title of the show refers to a chess move that is very old and very commonly played. It is called a gambit because the white seems to sacrifice the c pawn, but it's a misnomer because then black would not be able to retain the pawn without incurring a pitfall. The cast has a lot of familiar faces. You have Anya Taylor Joy, who has been in The Witch. Bill Camp has been in the HBO show The Outsider. Harry Melling was in the Harry Potter series. Thomas-Brodie Sangster played Ferb on Phineas and Ferb. And Marielle Heller directed plenty of films, one called Can You Ever Forgive Me? The show has great outfits and sets, so it feels like you're transported to the 60s. I love when shows pay attention to this so they get the look down and makes the viewer really feel like they're in that time period with the characters of the show. Going into this series, I honestly didn't think that I was going to like it because it was a show about chess. And while I love playing chess, because I think it's a really interesting game, it's not something that I like watching other people do because it's kind of boring to watch other people play chess. But after I saw this show and during the show, I realized that the show was about so much more than chess. We see Beth's tranquilizer addiction come up on this show, and tranquilizers are kind of like drugs that would relax you. They give these drugs to the kids in the orphanage to drug them up to a certain point where they stop doing that, in which we realize that Beth has an addiction because she still wants them. On the show, we see how Beth takes these tranquilizers at night, and what they help her do is imagine a chessboard on the ceiling. And it's kind of a cool scene to see because you're seeing how she is creating all these different strategies in her head and figuring out different ways she can win, basically, when she's playing someone. As she moves into adulthood, we see that this addiction becomes more of a negative and it eventually leads to her also, abusing alcohol as well. We see how she started off in the orphanage and how that's where her love of chess was born. But we also see that's where her addiction was born as well. We see in this orphanage that she meets a lifelong friend. But we also see that the staff in the orphanage was very mean to her as well. It was interesting to see how this orphanage was the birthplace for her of a lot of positive and negative things in her life. After she is adopted, her life is drastically changed and she is more free to live her life. We see that her adoptive mother isn't as overbearing and watchful as some of the teachers were in the orphanage, and that works for her and Beth. I thought it was interesting to see, how this contrast about how, Beth was In the orphanage, she was very controlled in what she did, and switching to her when she was adopted, how she had more freedom. And it was showing, how she was growing in chess throughout this time period, but also how, she was understanding more about life, because that was one thing that she wasn't able to learn more when she was in the orphanage, was learning about what was like outside of the orphanage. And once she had adopted, it was interesting to see how she was learning more about all of that. Beth's relationships were rough at the beginning of the show because Beth was a loner. As the show progresses, she realizes that it's good to have people around you for support. Mr. Scheibel was like an unlikely father figure to Beth. He taught her pretty much the foundations of chess and really led to her being such a, success when it came into the chess world because he introduced her to it. I thought it was interesting to see this kind of role that he played in her life, and how the show showed how, even though she may not have spoken about him as often as you would think, he was very important to her. Her adopted mother, Alma, didn't understand chess, but understood what it was like to be a woman during that time period. It was interesting to see their mother daughter dynamic and how they each learned from each other. Alma was also enjoying being single and enjoying life, and also helping Beth do the same. She really showed the ups and downs of being a housewife during this time, especially when her husband left her. Beth also has a longtime friend, Jolene, that she has known from the orphanage. Jolene has really seen Beth grow throughout all of her time and has really supported her for the whole time as well. It was really nice to see Jolene and Beth reunite at the end, and it made Beth realize that she has friends, even though she may not have seen them as friends or even like think about them on the daily. There are still people out there that cared for her and was always rooting for her success. She meets different chess players along the way who give her insights on things that might help her. Something that was said during the show is that the Soviets always play as a team, while Americans play as an individual, which eventually leads to their downfall. I thought it was something that was interesting to see because in the end, she ends up getting help and she wins. Throughout the show, we really see her being an individual and taking on these chess matches by herself and setting by herself. And it was interesting to see by the end of the show, she realized that sometimes you need these other people to bring in different perspectives. And, with all these different perspectives, you might see something that you didn't see before and shed a light on something that you may have missed. All these relationships showed her journey through life. I thought it was good to see all of these different relationships that she had throughout the show because it showed how much she grew as a person and how much she learned in her life. She also realizes through the show that while her life has not been ideal, that she's not alone and she has people rooting for her. On the show, we see how Beth is a trailblazer of her time. She is constantly underestimated because she is a woman, but time and time again, she proves those people who underestimate her wrong. It was interesting to see how she's not only navigating through life as a woman, but she's also navigating life as a female chess champion in a field that's dominated by men. My favorite scene in this series is when all of the chess players gather at the end and call her when she's in Russia to help her plan out her strategy for winning. I thought this was a pivotal scene not only for Beth, but for the other American players because at this moment they realized that it was better to work together, even though they had all been opponents at some point, to figure out how to get Beth to win this national, or not even national, but worldwide championship. I thought it was great to see this camaraderie and how it all paid off in the end. This series made me think about the days when I used to play chess and how much I enjoyed it. It also made me realize that I don't know that much about competitive chess. I never thought I would be that interested in a show about chess, but this show really pulled me in. Anya Taylor-Joy really dives into her roles and gives her all, and it really just makes the show or whatever movie she's in so much more interesting. She really made me think in this show that she had been a chess champion. The way she was playing, her body language, everything. She's just a magnificent actress. The Queen's Gambit is a fantastic series with a great cast led by Anya Taylor-Joy. If you have not seen it, you need to go on the Netflix and watch it. It is such a well done series, and when you watch it, you realize why some say it was one of the best series of 2020. And hey, you may even want to take up learning chess, and maybe one day you can become a chess champion. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. If you have not subscribed, please do so you can keep up to date with more of my videos. But besides that, everyone stay safe, have fun, and goodbye.